the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs, presents the official podcast of Dogs on Demand on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. On today's program, we'll give you the latest news from the world of University of Georgia athletics and more. And now, from the broadcast studios of Dogs on Demand, here's your host, Chris Hall.
Hey guys, good to have you with us on a Monday night as we come in here to talk a little bit about the University of Georgia and our football team. And we had a bye week. So how did you manage yourself through the bye week this past week? I watched some college football games, but to be honest with you, I was having a little bit of withdrawals not watching the University of Georgia playing this past Saturday, but I'm glad the guys got a week off and they were able to maybe get some things done, get some guys healed up, and take some time off. You need some time off, and so Georgia had a bye week last week. But even though Georgia had a bye week last week, it really kind of turned out to be a good, pretty good week for the University of Georgia. By the way, if you want to step in here and give us a shout out or make a comment or ask a question, you can do so. But it was a pretty good week for the University of Georgia in this sense. In several senses, I guess. Georgia continues to be the number one team in the country in most of the major polls. But Oregon had a big win over UCLA. Of course, Georgia with that big win over Oregon at the beginning of the season. That helps the resume for the University of Georgia. And the fact that South Carolina surprisingly just took out Texas A&M and at home was that's a big thing for the University of Georgia as well. In fact, I got a statistic here. Somebody give me a statistic here. Since Georgia won, took out Oregon and South Carolina, since those games, the Oregon Ducks and the South Carolina Gamecocks are a combined 10-0. Those teams have not lost a game since they lost their game to the University of Georgia. So, with Oregon winning, with South Carolina winning, South Carolina now in the top 25, that kind of helps the resume for the University of Georgia, as if, you need help with that, but you never know, maybe down the line, you might need that to get into the playoffs. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but it's just something to consider. How you doing on this Monday? It's been Monday all day long around the Hall household, and Monday can be a challenge at times. But hey, we face that challenge with joy and happiness. We had a good day. In fact, I would encourage you to check out Dogs on Demand on Facebook and Instagram, and on our YouTube channel as well. We had a great conversation today, great interview today, podcast today, with one of the great former players for the University of Georgia, Kevin Catfish Jackson. Now, you may not be familiar with Kevin, but Kevin played on the 1980 National Championship team at the University of Georgia. He was on that team. He played on the defensive line for Coach Irk Russell. And so we talked on the podcast today about that game and what his emotions were as he sat in the stands in Indianapolis this past January to see the University of Georgia win another national championship. And it was a great conversation. So check it out. You can go to Dogs on Demand on Facebook, on Instagram. Check us out on YouTube, and you can see the entire interview on our YouTube page. So be sure to check it out. A good conversation with Kevin Catfish Jackson, entrepreneur now, if I can get it out, a great businessman now, and continues to be a great supporter of the University of Georgia. So we're looking forward now. It's Gator Hater Week. This week is, we're leading up to Saturday, and the University of Georgia will be taking on Florida. It'll be a 3:30 game on CBS. It'll be the featured game on CBS, excuse me, for this coming weekend. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that game and some other things as well out of our stack of stuff about the University of Georgia and the Bulldogs. First of all, let's talk a little bit about the injury report leading up to the Florida game. And so, Lan McConkey, he was dealing with a toe injury, a turf toe injury in the last game that Georgia played against Vanderbilt, suffered, that and aggravated it a little bit in practice. He is probable for the game on Saturday, which means probably he's, going to play. Shmuel Mondon, he's been out for a couple of weeks with an ankle injury. He is probable for the game on Saturday. Tresman Marshall, linebacker, he has been dealing with a knee issue. He is probable for the game on Saturday against Florida. Now, questionable, for the game. It depends on how things go this week in practice. Jalen Carter, boy, he would be good and a big addition, of course, obviously, in that defensive line for the University of Georgia. He dealing with a knee issue, had that, block on him in the Missouri game that we all did not appreciate. But he's been dealing with that knee issue. And since that questionable, was it legal or not, block in the Missouri game, Jalen Carter is questionable for the game on Saturday. A.D. Mitchell is still dealing with a high ankle sprain. He suffered that in the first on the first play back in the Sanford game, in fact. And A.D. is questionable again. He still has some soreness in that ankle. And Kendall Milton, who has a groin injury, rather, he is questionable for the game on Saturday as well. But everyone else appears to be ready to go for the University of Georgia. And so Georgia headed up to this game on Saturday against Florida. It will be in Jacksonville, Florida. It'll be at 3:30, of course. It'll be the featured game on CBS. Georgia now is a 22-point favorite over Florida in that game on Saturday. So the projection is that Georgia will win the game by 3 touchdowns. Don't know about that. It is a rivalry game. You don't know in these kind of games, boy, things could turn topsy-turvy. So Georgia, and I'm sure Coach Smart and the coaching staff is going to emphasize to the Bulldogs that, hey, Florida is not a pushover. They have a talented quarterback. They have a talented team, and they're going to be itching to do some damage to Georgia on Saturday. And so Georgia is going to have to play a very good football game to win this game down in Jacksonville. And so I'm sure the guys are, from what we can tell, from what we have information about preparation for the game on Saturday, even though it's just Monday, the Bulldogs have really been concentrating on this game on Saturday against Florida. Now, of course, there's a lot of discussion about Georgia's game with Tennessee the following week. Kirby Smart is hearing nothing of that. He don't want to hear anything about that. He's saying that, Georgia going through its routine, realizing that it's going to be a tough rivalry game against Florida in Jacksonville, and he doesn't want to hear anything about, Georgia and Tennessee the following week. Now, the team, the coaches and the team, they don't have to look forward, but we fans can. We have that privilege and we have that prerogative. So a little bit about this potential huge matchup between Georgia and Tennessee. It was announced today that the Georgia-Tennessee game will be a 3:30 game. Of course, it will be played in Sanford Stadium, as viewed right behind us, at 3:30 on Saturday, November the 5th. CBS, of course, has the first pick of those SEC games. There was a lot of discussion about why won't Georgia play Tennessee rather, if it's such a huge game at night at the 7:30 game. Well, there's some contractual things with the television CBS network. CBS gets one night game a year, and they have to designate that night game before the season begins. which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but, that's the way it is. And the night game has already been played. That was Alabama and Texas A&M on CBS. And so, if now CBS could say, no, we don't want the Georgia Florida game or Georgia Tennessee game rather. We'll pick up another game, and that game could be at 7:30 like on ESPN, but CBS says no, this is a potentially huge game and we want the game. And therefore the game will be at 3:30 on November the 5th in Sanford Stadium. And if things hold serve, if Georgia wins over Florida, and if Tennessee wins over Kentucky this coming Saturday, Kentucky coming to Neyland Stadium up in Knoxville, if Georgia and Tennessee win this weekend their games, and then then you probably would have Georgia number 1, Tennessee number 3 meeting at Sanford Stadium. That will be like only the second time in Sanford Stadium, that you'd have 2 top 5 teams meeting. The last time was back in 1983 when Georgia was playing somebody. I didn't get that, but it would be a huge deal. But apparently, right now, if Tennessee and Georgia stay where they are in the polls and they meet on November the 15th, it will be at 3:30 in Sanford Stadium. Now, Georgia plays Florida. Florida's got talent. They're 4-3 on the year. They've, had some rough patches here and there. Their last game, they lost to LSU at home. But you can't overlook Florida. Anthony Richardson is a very talented quarterback. Florida has some talent in that team. Billy Napier has had a week to get them, fired up and ready to go to face Georgia. But Florida had the last Saturday off as well as Georgia. That's always the tradition for the Georgia-Florida game. And so it's not going to be a cakewalk for the University of Georgia. 22-point favorite, probably a little high. I would anticipate Georgia winning the game. Georgia obviously has the better talent of the two teams, but it's a rivalry game. It's in the SEC, and essentially it's a road game for Georgia. It's supposed to be, a game on a neutral side, and it I guess is. It's in Jacksonville and not Gainesville. But it's basically a road game for the University of Georgia. But it's going to be a tough game. It'll be interesting. The first half will tell the tale. Georgia needs to come out and let her rip on Florida. And if Georgia does come out hot and ready to go and, score some points, put some points on the board against Florida, then you would anticipate Georgia, cruising right on through this game. But who knows? Billy Napier, this is his first crack at the University of Georgia, and Kirby Smart on Saturday. So it should be, an exciting game. Should be a great game. And then when all is said and done, if Georgia wins and if Tennessee beats Kentucky, now they're playing Kentucky at home. If Tennessee beats Kentucky, then you got that big thing. You have that big deal of Georgia and Tennessee at Sanford Stadium. Now, as far as the polls are concerned, Georgia continues to be the number 1 team in the country in most of the major polls, in the AP poll and in the coaches poll and the USA Today poll and that kind of thing. In the AP poll, that's the standard that most people go by. Georgia's number 1, Ohio State number 2, Tennessee 3, Michigan 4, Clemson 5, Alabama 6, TCU 7, Oregon now number 8 in the country in the AP poll. That one loss that Oregon suffered, a 49-3 loss to Georgia. Number 9, Oklahoma State. Number 10, USC. And then you go down the line, Wake Forest, UCLA, Penn State, Utah, Ole Miss, Syracuse, Illinois, LSU, Kentucky, Cincinnati, North Carolina, Kansas State, Tulane, North Carolina State, and then South Carolina getting into the top 25. South Carolina 5-2 on the year now after that big win against Texas A&M this past Saturday. Again, it's a neutral site, supposedly, in Jacksonville between Georgia and Florida. There has been some discussion now. The current contract that assigns this game to Jacksonville will run out in 2023. And there's Kirby Smart, if he had his deal, it would be a home and home thing. The game would not be in Jacksonville. Billy Napier, he, kind of leans toward that direction as well. And so it remains to be seen, the future of this game. Will it continue to be a so-called neutral site game in Jacksonville? Or, will it become a home and home contest, which I think probably the head coaches would prefer. One of the big sticking points is, that you don't get to really recruit in this game. Now, the NCAA did change rules, and now Georgia supposedly is the home team for this game. And they are able to leave some tickets, excuse me, at the gate for some recruits and their families. Florida's not able to do that because they're the visiting team, and a visiting team can invite recruits to a visitors in a game in which they are visitors and supposedly in somebody else's stadium. And so Georgia will have that going for them. They'll have some recruits there, but they will not be able to interact with them. They can only leave tickets for the recruits to come to the game. So, that's a big, something that sticks in the craw of Kirby Smart. I know he kind of edges toward this game just becoming a natural, normal game. Now, Jacksonville's going to fight to hang on to it because it's a big moneymaker. And so, follow the money, that kind of thing. But right now, it's that thing in Jacksonville, and I don't necessarily like it myself. I'd love for it to be a home and home and to see the Bulldogs playing in the swamp against Florida. That would be cool. And to see the Gators come and get shellacked in Sanford Stadium. That would be a cool thing. But, we'll have to wait and see how that's going to be. Not a whole lot of news, as far as things for the University of Georgia on this Monday. The recruiting trail is kind of picking up. Georgia's picked up some solid recruits for the 2023 class. They now have projected by 247sports.com the number 2 recruiting class in the country for the 2023 cycle. And so Georgia continues to be hot, doing a great job on the recruiting trail, always recruiting. And Georgia's picked up a couple of guys for the 2024 class. You never stop with the recruiting. All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll be back and talk about some of the upcoming games in the SEC. But when we come back after this message from Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs, we'll tell you how you can earn $20,000 and get free tickets to the SEC championship game by making a batch of chili. We'll have more about that in just a moment.
Gotta go watch film. Don't worry, we got you, Coach. Woo, I'm hungry.
We got you, Coach.
Where's my visor?
We got you, Coach.
Looking for a mortgage team that has your back? That team is Southeast Mortgage.
We got you.
Yeah, Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lenders of the Georgia Bulldogs. We love those guys, and they're great supporters of Dogs on Demand on Facebook and Instagram. So, are you a good chili maker? Can you make a great bowl of chili? Well, Bush's Baked Beans, which is currently based in Knoxville, Tennessee, is having its first ever chili contest. If you enter this contest, and if your chili is picked as the best chili, then you're going to be hired at $20,000, a salary of $20,000, to become the first ever chili commissioner. And you're going to if you win this thing, you'll be a co-host. You'll co-host a tailgate at the SEC championship game on December the 3rd with actor Brian Baumgardner. Now, I don't really know who that is, but apparently he plays Kevin Malone on NBC's The Office. And so, you can go to the website for Bush's Baked Beans. The applications close on November the 8th. And so it'll give you all the details. But if you're a good chili maker, hey, that's a pretty good deal. The contest winner will receive 2 tickets and a 2-night trip to the SEC championship game, get to collaborate on one of the brand's official recipes, and receive a year's supply. That is 36 cans of Bush's chili beans. They'll also compete in the Tailgate's Chili Cook-Off, judged by a panel of the recent World Championship Chili Cook-Off champions. So if you're a good chili maker, hey, look it up. Google it or whatever. Go to Bush's Baked Beans, their website. You'll find the information there. And who knows? You could win a $20,000 salary and have all those perks and get to go to the SEC championship game to see Georgia win. I hope. We all hope. So check it out. Bush's Beans. Go to their website and you'll find the information there. And no, I know my producer says, are you a chili maker? No, I'm a chili eater, but I can't take the spicy stuff. I'm afraid, we lived in Texas. They'd have these chili bake-offs and chili contests and things, and then have 5-alarm chili, 4-alarm, 3, 2, 1, and then mild stuff. I tried a bowl of 5-alarm chili on one occasion. Burned for 2 months. I can't. No, I can't. My palate will not do that. My stomach will not allow it either. So, but anyway, I'm a mild chili kind of guy. I'm a mild kind of guy anyway. So check it out. Well, some of the finals from this past weekend in the SEC action. Tennessee had a big day against UT Martin. You would expect that, 65-24. Hendon Hooker played one half and had like 9,000 yards passing or something like that. So Tennessee overwhelming UT Martin. LSU took out Ole Miss in Baton Rouge, 45-20. LSU, very impressive. Got behind like what was it, 20-3 or something like that, and came storming back to take out previously undefeated Ole Miss, 45-20. Missouri beat Vanderbilt 17-14. Alabama, bouncing back from that loss against Tennessee, beat Mississippi State 30-6 this past Saturday. And then, it was a great surprise, but South Carolina took out Texas A&M. So Texas A&M now is 3-4 on the year. And there's a lot of disgruntlement. Is that a word? A lot of people who are disgruntled about what's happening at Texas A&M down in Aggie land. And, there's even been talk, we need a new coach. Well, you have Jimbo Fisher, who just signed a new contract. And if you want to buy out Jimbo Fisher's contract right now, it's a 10-year contract. So in year 10, if you want to fire Jimbo Fisher and buy out his contract, you got to come up with $85 million. That's his buyout in this first year of his 10-year contract. So most probably that's not going to happen. Now, South Carolina, very impressive. Spencer Rattler had a good day. Their defense played pretty good. Shane Beamer had a tremendous reaction to the win. I'm a Shane Beamer kind of guy. I kind of like him. A lot of folks are not crazy about Shane Beamer, but I like his enthusiasm. He's a good family man and a pretty good coach. He's got a great heritage. His dad was a great coach. So he's doing a good job at South Carolina. And again, South Carolina and Oregon have not lost since Georgia beat them. They're 10-0. South Carolina and Oregon are 10-0 since Georgia beat each one of those teams. Pretty impressive. And Bo Nix, he had an awful game against Georgia, just an awful game against Georgia. Since then, he's been Heisman-like, for heaven's sakes. Yes, that Bo Nix. And now you have Oregon at number 8 in the country. And I think USA Today has them at number 6. So, okay. Now, coming up this weekend, week 9 of the college football season in the SEC, you have Arkansas going to Auburn. That'll be on the SEC network at noon. That'd be an interesting game. Arkansas that's hit some rough times, has hit a rough patch. Auburn has had one of those seasons. That'd be interesting. Then at 3:30, of course, you have Florida and Georgia. Florida not ranked 4-3 on the year. Georgia undefeated 7-0, 3-0 in the SEC. Isn't that right? 3-0 in the SEC, ranked number one in the country. It'll be on CBS at 3:30, and then at 4 o'clock, Missouri at South Carolina. That'll be on the SEC network. And at 7 o'clock on ESPN, kind of an interesting game. All Georgia fans will be watching this game, especially if Georgia beats Florida. Kentucky at Tennessee. Will Levis had a pretty good game last week. So that'll be an interesting game. Kentucky's got talent. And so they'll be taking on Tennessee. Tennessee, the number 3 team in the country. Kentucky, number 19. Again, that'll be at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Then at 7:30, you have Ole Miss going to Texas A&M, that will be an interesting game. Will Ole Miss lay a whooping on Texas A&M, or can Texas A&M bounce back? Now, if Ole Miss beats Texas A&M, I tell you, it's some oil money may be flowing down in Aggie land if Ole Miss takes out Texas A&M. Some other games nationally of interest. Number 2, Ohio State will go to number 13, Penn State on Saturday. Ohio State, really soft schedule, but a talented team, very good team. They're traveling to Penn State. Penn State will be sky high for that. So, kind of interesting. Could it be a challenge for Ohio State against Penn State? I will have to wait and see. That'll be an interesting game to keep an eye on. Michigan State at number 4, Michigan. Now, before the season started, you would anticipate, man, this would be a really, a rivalry game, a big challenging game, but not so much. Michigan State's having an awful season, and Michigan having a decent season, number 4 in the country. Michigan State at number 4. Michigan, you would anticipate Michigan not having much trouble with Michigan State. Oklahoma State, number 9, at Kansas State, number 22. So, that's not a Big Ten, but, that conference out there. If it's not the SEC, I don't pay much attention. But anyway, you've got Oklahoma State at Kansas State in the Big 12. Yeah, I know it's the Big 12. If you don't have anything to do and if some of our SE teams are having blowouts, you might want to turn over there to see what's happening with that. Then you have number 10 USC at Arizona. You wouldn't think much of, USC might win. USC getting beat last week by Utah. The Utes of Utah took out USC last week. So anyway, all right, that's going to wrap up our program for this Monday night. A little dog talk. Go Dogs! Hey, it's Gator Hater Week this week. That's why they call it. Looking forward to the rivalry game. Georgia getting ready. Florida getting ready in Jacksonville. 3:30 on Saturday. It'll be on CBS. By the way, the contract with CBS and the SEC ends next year, right? Doesn't it end next year? And CBS and the SEC, I think, they're going to part, and CBS is going to do a Big Ten thing. Now, why would you do that? I mean, seriously. But anyway, apparently that's what's going to happen. So, Georgia will have a better shot at a night game. People are so hungry for a night game. The night game with Georgia and Notre Dame in Sanford Stadium was electric. Georgia has not had a night game this year. I don't know if they didn't have one last year either, did they? And except for the playoffs and the championship game. So, all right, Clay, good to have you in with us from Southwest Florida. Clay is a big Bulldog fan, and he's in Florida. So I wonder if, the people in Florida, Bulldog fans in Florida say, please win the game. because we don't want to hear it from these Gator fans. The Bulldog fans will rub it in a little bit. We'll rub it in a little bit. That's what you do in college football. You rub it in a little bit when your team wins. But Gator fans, if they beat Georgia, they'll rub it in a lot. It'll be obnoxious. So, what is that? Oh, it's not Clay. It's Kobe T.W. Wilson. Okay. I got you. Is that right? Yeah. He says, please win. So I don't have to hear it from these Gator fans, and I can understand that. All right. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thanks to Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs, wherever you live, check out when it comes time to finance or refinance your home. The good folks at Southeast Mortgage will help you. Go to southeastmortgage.com/UGA, and they'll help you in every way they can to make everything happen the way you need it to happen when it comes time to finance or refinance your home. Thank you for being with us tonight. Go Dogs. Let's get them. It's Gator Week this week, so let's get ready and keep it rolling. Thank you for being with us tonight. Join us again very soon as we talk a little bit more about University of Georgia football. Be sure to check out our recent podcast at todaysportsreport.com. That's the audio version. You can go to our Facebook page, Dogs on Demand Facebook page, Instagram page, and YouTube. Be sure to go to our YouTube page and subscribe, and you'll always be up to date with our podcast, a great podcast. Kevin Catfish Jackson, who played on the 1980 national championship team for the University of Georgia, played with Herschel and Buck Blue and all those guys. Great interview. Check it out. All right. Until next